Hi, it's story time. I have whole bunches of stories, and some of them will come out in my Art of Ritual videos, but there are some that I just want to tell on their own. And I will preface this by saying that I've experienced some pretty mind-blowing things. And I know I've experienced them. They're very real. Yet, when I tell the stories, there's always a part of me that's going, people are going to think you're a kook. People are going to think you're weird. And because it does sound weird to my logical, rational mind, but these things happened and they're very real. And, I have theories about some of them. Some of them actually have explanations, when you talk about the science of the brain. They can be explained. That doesn't make them any less magical. And I would hazard to say that if you embark on a magical practice, a practice of ritual, a deep spiritual practice, and you let yourself go out there on the edge and you give yourself to the experience, that you will have some pretty mind-blowing experiences as well. So the first story I want to tell is about before I was actually doing my own ritual practice. I had been introduced to witches when I was 18, some friends through a friend of mine. Very wonderful, wonderful people, and I remember the rituals being sweet and homey and magical, but I didn't really understand what was going on at the time. So I don't remember details because I didn't have the context. And that was just a very kind of short period of time. And I remember Beltane and I remember Samhain, which, are two biggies. But then after that, I really took a hard right turn and got married and became a Catholic. But that's where I met the goddess. That's where I met Mary, because I was not raised with any feminine divine form at all in the Christianity I was raised in. At any rate, in my mid-20s, I was working full-time. I was also singing in a band or two. I was also doing interviews for a syndicated TV show that was alternate music, the big alternate wave that went through. So I was interviewing bands, and I mean big ones like, Talking Heads and Oingo Boingo and Red Hot Chili Peppers and stuff like that. So I was doing these band interviews. The point is, I was running all the time. And a lot of the time I would get up, I'd go to work at 7:30 in the morning, and I would get a call from the show's producer saying, hey, you have to go up to Cleveland and interview, Los Lobos or, somebody like that. Or actually, more accurately, people like Echo and the Bunnymen, which, they were brand new bands coming out and nobody knew anything about them. So I would have to race home at lunchtime and sometimes run to the laundromat to get some clothes washed and, run to the record store to find out anything I could about the people I was interviewing and taking notes, and then I'd run home and change clothes and run to the gig, and, so I was going all the time. And I was very scattered. My mind was really scattered. So I started doing things like locking my keys in my apartment, locking my keys in my car. I just stopped locking my apartment. It was, an inside entrance in a very nice little building, and so I didn't feel, that was dangerous at all. And then I kept locking my keys in my car, so I just stopped locking my car, and because I got tired of calling the cops. So I was just trying to keep up with myself that way, or at least keep myself out of more trouble by, leaving things wide open that way. And then one day, I went into a shoe store at lunchtime from work. And I was in there, 15, 20 minutes. And as I'm coming out of the shop, I'm digging in my purse and I can't find my keys. And I figure, they're still in the car. And then I got to my car, which was still running. At which point I freaked out a little bit. And I started getting scared because I thought, if I am that unfocused and that unaware of what's going on that I don't even realize I've left the car running. First of all, hooray that my car was still there. But I thought, what else am I not seeing? Am I not seeing that bus that's coming at me? So I freaked out a little bit, and rightly so. And I went to the shop. I had been studying astrology for like, let's see, just a few years by then, I guess. I guess it might have been a brand new thing. At any rate, there was a bookstore that I went to get all my astrology stuff, and I knew they had all kinds of other wonderful things, and I knew they had tapes and things. So I went there and kind of crawled to the desk. Help me, help me. I am a danger to myself. I'm going to hurt somebody. My mind is so scattered that I am not here at all, and I need some help. So the wonderful woman, Chris, that worked at the store, recommended a tape for me, and it was Shakti Gawain, Creative Visualization, and you can get this on CD or iTunes. I think she's probably on iTunes. But I went home and I started listening to this tape every day. And what was cool about it is it was guided visualization, and there was a part about grounding, so got me nice and grounded back in the physical reality of now, which was good. There was one for running energy, and there was a thing called the pink bubble technique, where you went in and, looking at it now, it was really ritual. You relaxed, you got into trance state, you built your sanctuary, so your sacred space, you did a working where you visualized your goal, and then you put it in this pink bubble and sent it off, and then there was affirmations, and then you came back. But what was cool about it too was there was subliminals on the tape as well. And subliminals will work all by themselves after a certain period of time. You have to do it, now they say 21 days, sometimes 2 weeks is enough, sometimes it takes longer, it just depends. But being the way I am, the way I'm, set up astrologically, and I'll talk about that another time, I go into trance really easily, so I was there immediately. But the story here, the real story, is that after just a couple of weeks of doing this, interesting things started happening, and one of them was that my best friend from high school, I had spoken to her, maybe a month before, and maybe longer, and hadn't talked to her since. And then this one night I had a dream that wasn't really a dream. It was very ordinary and it was very real. It felt like I was really there. And the ordinary scene was me and her mom and her sitting in their kitchen around their little kitchen table and just talking like we'd done a million times through high school. The difference was that I was seeing it from up in the corner of the kitchen. And I don't remember what was said around the table or it was just an ordinary thing. I was there, but it made an impact on me. So the next day I just thought, oh, what the hell, I'll call her. And when I did, for some reason I said to her, did you have a blessed event? And I remember her talking about her cat the last time I'd spoken to her. So I asked her, did you have a blessed event? And she said, yes. And I said, when? And she said, last night. And I went, oh, because I was up in your kitchen last night and I just thought I'd call and ask. So we both kind of went, ha ha, isn't that weird? The next thing that happened was like I said, I was singing in a couple of bands at the time, and my boyfriend was in one of them. And then I had this friend who was a drummer, and I had another vision, and here's where I want to separate dream from vision. Dreams are weird, dreams are dreamlike, it was my house but not my house, and suddenly, there was this Santa Claus in the middle of the room, and blah, blah, they're weird. Visions have a very real quality to them. You're actually there, actually physically there. They seem very ordinary and real. So this one, I found myself in my boyfriend's kitchen, again, sitting around the kitchen table, there's a theme, but I was talking to my friend, the drummer, and he was saying that something happened to his back, and he went like this, and he put his hands behind his back and kind of went back like this. So I got up the next morning and thought, oh, what the hell, again, and I called him and said, he answered the phone, and I said, hey, how's your back? And he kind of went, bub. And he said, well, actually, it's kind of down into my legs now. And then we had like a really awkward conversation. He was at work and said, I got to get back to work. And, that was that. Maybe 3 days later, my boyfriend was having an after party at his apartment, and I'm sitting in the kitchen, and we're sitting at the kitchen table, and my friend, the drummer, is there. And he said, I'm so sorry that the conversation was so weird the other day, but you really freaked me out because I was out running and I don't know what I did to my back. And he went like this. And I said, that's it. That's what I saw. That's where I was. I had been there in that moment several days beforehand. So, I'm really happy that I had the guts to check up on things like that, and that I had friends who knew what a kook I was and, weren't too freaked out. But that was just like real validation for me. But the big one was, I lived in this fabulous little brownstone, 4-unit brownstone, and mine was the top floor on the south side of the building, and it was all windows. I had like 30-some plants in the front room. I called it my penthouse. I was only there for a year, more's the pity, but it was such a fabulous place, and it's the place of my opening, and here's the big reason why that place was so special. So my sister lived in Colorado at the time, and unlike me, who I had, it was 80s, I had like short mushroom hair, and she always had long blonde hair. And so I go to bed one night, and as I'm dropping into that in-between place between waking and sleeping, suddenly I find myself sitting on the end of my bed, and my sister is there. And I'm just overjoyed. I mean, that feeling, it was like, I don't know, meeting the Beatles. I just had this feeling of just so thrilled and so overjoyed that my sister is sitting here, and I was just going, this is so great, you're here. And I was wearing, by the way, she had got me this kimono, which was a purple bamboo print, and I was wearing that kimono. So I'm talking to her, and I said, you've got to see my apartment, because she'd never been there. And I said, come out, let me show you my apartment. So we step into the hallway, which is dark. And as soon as we step into the hallway and she's behind me, I got kind of this sort of shiver of kind of fear. And it was like, who am I talking to? Dana's not here. So I had this realization that, no, my sister's not here. And the fear was, then who am I talking to? And I turned around, and this woman is standing there in a white kimono, and she's got short dark hair, and I grabbed the sleeve of the kimono, and I got up in her face, and it was me. And my brain went wacka, 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 wacka. And the way I was reacting to it, because it was like, this can't possibly be, this can't be, but I had the kimono sleeve in my hand, and I remember rubbing that fabric because it was in my hand and I felt it. It was as real can possibly be, physically. And I was like, just kind of freaking out, and then all of a sudden there was that boom, that jerk, and I was back in my body in bed. And I say back in my body because I understood, I found out many years later what was actually happening there. Although at the time, the only thing that was in my mind was, what the fuck? So, that just kind of shook me really hard, and I just sort of set it aside because it was that, you know, what the fuck just happened? What was that? I don't get it. Of course, what happened was the meditation that I'd been doing was connecting me with my unconscious mind, connecting me with the pool of knowledge and my friends and my sister, and most importantly, it connected me with my higher self, which is the mushroom head woman in the hallway in the white kimono. You know, I remember one of the details of it was that I was wearing that purple kimono, but my higher self was there in a white kimono, and she came to visit me. So when I say that when I invoke goddess and I invoke deity, I invoke from myself, there's a good reason why. So, story time is over. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. If you have questions, drop me some comments. Please share if you know other kooks that might be interested in this story. Many more stories to come. I'll see you next time. Blessed be.